What is up, you guys? In today's video, I want to talk about the legacy that you're going to leave. Let's dive in. Hey, well, welcome back. As always, so grateful for your time and your attention. In today's video, I want to talk about something a little bit different than what we normally visit about. We're normally talking about woodworking principles, ideas, ways to grow your woodworking business, but I really want to talk about what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be? I'm 32 years old right now. I'll be 33 in a couple months. And really the last couple years, I've become more and more aware of how finite life is. When we were younger, time didn't seem to move nearly as fast as it does now. And the older that I get, the more I realize how limited my time is with my children inside of the house. My oldest son, he's 7 years old now. I have two daughters, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I've been married now over 9 years. Those of you that have been around the sun a few times, you understand that life feels a little bit out of control when you start getting older, in the sense that you can't make time slow down. Time doesn't wait for you. We can choose to do so many different things with our time, with our energy, with what we care about. You know, you're here because you're probably trying to grow a woodworking business. But if you are married or have kids, these other components of your life, the question that really matters is like, when I die, who will be at my funeral? What impact will I have had on them? And what type of legacy will I leave? I think that this is kind of there's a bit of a dichotomy with this concept of legacy. You know, there's the part of you that you are very close to a few people, and how you choose to have a relationship with them is really going to impact them and shape them, whether that be your spouse or your children or your grandchildren or whatever that might be. But then there's this other component of legacy to where if we are so concerned about what people will think of us, then we won't ever go do what we know we should have done. We won't step out in faith to do what we know God's called us to do. And so for the last several years, to be quite honest with you, I haven't been thinking a lot about legacy. I've been thinking about what's in front of me, about growing a business, becoming financially stable, doing all these things and providing for my family and whatnot. But as I start to creep into my 30s, I'm becoming more aware of how quickly my 40s will be here and how quickly my 50s will be here and my 60s. And the main thing that I am becoming brutally aware of is that what I do today actually affects my impact and my legacy long term in the future. I almost had this mentality of like, okay, well, I'm going to take care of all these things and then I'll worry about that later. You know, I'll worry about my legacy later. I'll worry about what I'm remembered for later. But sometimes we put off the relationships that we should be investing in to build the thing right now. Or sometimes we bypass what we feel like God is maybe even calling us to do in order to focus on this thing right now. Well, God, I'll get to that later. I'm going to do this. This can be successful, and then I'll focus on that. It can be that way with our family, with our kids, with our faith, with our health even. And I wanted to record this video. I wanted to have this conversation because I think and I believe that God will give you everything that you need to do what He's called you to do today. For so many people, they struggle chasing after money. What they think success is to only look up and realize that that wasn't success. And I think all of us have to only kind of go through our own version of this. You know, it's like you see a super rich person tell you that money's not everything. And it's like, well, it's easy for you to say, right? Because you have all the money in the world. But at the end of our lives, at the end of our time on this earth, you're going to be remembered for something, or you're not going to be remembered. For me personally, I want to have impacted people in a positive way. I wanted to have pointed people to Jesus, into a relationship with God. I want to be an encouragement to everybody that I encounter. I want to speak life into people that are discouraged, frustrated about where they're at. That's what I want my legacy to be. I want my kids to know that they can always do whatever they set their minds to do as long as they're willing to do the work that it takes to get there. I want them to walk with God and hear God's voice. I want to have prayed over my children every single day and my spouse. You know, these are all the things that I want my legacy to be made up of. Most men die at 30 and get buried at 80. There's another quote that just rings in my mind that is so true, and it's that most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Most guys get to their 30s and they find themselves incredibly frustrated with their situation, who they've become, all the dreams and the goals that they haven't reached and haven't fulfilled. It can be a really frustrating time in a man's life. His 30s, his 40s, you're seeing your kids grow as life is passing you by and you're not where you want to be. How do you handle that? What do you do with that? And so my encouragement to you guys in this video is to not focus on your legacy later, but to focus on your legacy today, to become the man today that your 60, 70, 80-year-old self would be proud of. You know, if you can look back and say, you know what, I know that I lived the right way, I pursued the right things, I chased my dreams and went for it, I set an example for my children and those that were watching me, I honored God. Become the man today that you didn't have. Become the mentor today that you didn't have. Become the father today that you didn't have. Or the mother, if you're a woman watching this. You know, become the person that you needed when you were a kid, and then be that for somebody, because is the greatest satisfaction in your life isn't going to be from, I grew this woodworking business and sold it for a bunch of money, or I grew this woodworking business and had all these clients. Your greatest satisfaction is going to be like, how do your kids turn out? Do they love you? Are they your friend when you're older? These are the principles. These are the things that you really got to think about now, because I see too many people, and I see this all the time. There's a guy that's a really successful woodworker. Several years ago, I remember kind of following his journey, and one day he posts a video where he's out in the shop and he's staining and he's working hard, and he just starts talking about how his wife just left him because of how much he works, and how he's trying to grow this business, and this is the most important thing right now. And it's like, man, I get it. Like, I get the pressure to grow the business. I get the pressure, and I understand needing to grow the business, but it's not worth your marriage. Like, it's not worth your relationship with your children. It's not worth going it alone. And the worst thing you could do, guys, is build something great and get up on top of the mountain to celebrate and turn around and look and realize that you're all by yourself, because you didn't bring anybody along. And so just remember this, guys. This is just an encouragement video for each of you to remember your legacy will live on past you, whether that be good or bad, and that building a woodworking business is important, but it's not the most important part of who you are, who God has called you to be. Continue to focus on the most important things, and that is your relationships with God and the people that He's entrusted you to. So hopefully this video is helpful to you. If you're looking for some woodworking tips, guys, we've got hundreds of videos here on the channel, on this podcast. You can find just about everything that you're looking for. This is simply an encouragement video to help you keep proper perspective as you try to grow your business. So with that being said, I love you all so much. Thanks again for your time, and I hope to see you on the next one.